about Kobe Bryant. Let's do that right now. All right, we had him on a few weeks ago, Michael Rapaport. Definitely got just about as much feedback for a podcast as I've ever gotten in my life. He was so crazed and excited about the Latvian gangbanger, Kristaps Porzingis, as he called it, which is now, I think should be his new nickname, the Latvian gangbanger. And we had a great podcast. Could not resist calling him because he loves basketball as much as I do and has to just be traumatized and horrified by Kobe's farewell tour. So let's hear it from him. Michael Rapaport, how are you?
All right, well, listen, Bill, we're not talking about the gangbanger, the Latvian gangbanger, which I think everybody's looking for a nickname for him, and I think that kind of just makes the most sense. And we're not talking about Burgess Meredith and his sexual prowess and his loaf game. We're not talking about that, and we're not talking about, even though I've gotten asked literally about 100 times face-to-face in the streets of New York about the now famous Zapruder tapes of the edited-out footage from our podcast. We're not going to discuss that.
Okay. There's like seven missing minutes in the Watergate tapes.
People ask me every day. They're like, what did he say? What did he say? And I said, you got to pay to play, and I'll give you all the answers you want. And everyone, then that's the end of the conversation.
At some point, you'll get paid.
But I want to talk. Say it again.
At some point, someone will pay you for the missing 7 minutes of the Watergate tape. Your recollection of the Watergate tapes. But go ahead.
My recollection.
Yeah.
Then it becomes my recollections. And then when I'm on my deathbed, they're going to be like, can you please just remember? What do you remember about that day with Bill Simmons discussing the now famous missing 7 minutes from that podcast? But what I'm calling to talk to you about is the shit show, the parade of shit that is going to turn into the rest of the Los Angeles Lakers season and the final, 60 games of Kobe Bryant's career. It is an abomination. And the first thing that it brings to mind is what they did to Dr. J when they gave him all the gifts. But then even closer to that is what happened to Jeter and how it just ruined the last season for the Yankees. And you're treating it like it's a charity case. They're out there, shaking his. And listen, I say this: Kobe's one of my favorite players of all time. He deserves everything, but there has to be a limit. Like, I don't know if he announced it too early or what. And I know, it feels like it was a completely genuine, organic thing that happened. And he said, "I'm pulling the plug. I'm announcing it." And he seems like he's come to peace with it. But there's got to be a middle ground. Like, this can't happen every night. And the fact that they lost to the Philadelphia 76ers last night, and that wasn't even a mention, like, they should be ashamed of themselves. And Kobe being Kobe, like, there still has to be a little bit of that fire in him. And, like, at the end of the game, they're talking, and he's in his suit, and he looks great. And, again, I love Kobe, but, like, you just lost to the Sixers.
Right.
You just lost to the 76ers the first time of year, and they're out there giving you jerseys, and this coach is out there, and then they're, and next thing you know, they're going to start, like on Steiner Sports, they're going to, be hocking his jockstrap online. It's too early. It's too much. And the fact that the team is such a mess, that Laker team, and nobody's saying anything about that. It's like, talk about throwing in the towel. I mean, it's pathetic. It's pathetic. And at what point does it end? At what point do you think about, like, these young players and, like, making it about them? Because this entire season now is going to be focused on the farewell tour, and it's not a good farewell tour. It's not good. It's too much. It's too much, and it's too soon.
It reminds me of. First of all, I take issue with what you said about how it was organically handled, the announcement. To me,
you don't
it
think
was.
So?
Well, no, considering that he announced it in the website that he had purchased a stake in, and then he also printed out a whole poem that was printed out way ahead of time to hand out to the fans. It seemed to me like there was some real thought and time and energy put into how actually to do this.
Okay. See, that's why you're Bill Simmons and I'm just a rabid caller calling in from, God knows where.
Kobe, since he blew out his Achilles, which we all wondered if that was going to be the death sentence for his career. I assumed that it would, because he was over 50,000 minutes. Like, NBA players are like cars. If you put a car over 200,000 miles, at that point you're afraid to drive from New York to Boston on the Mare Parkway and the Mass Pike. Like, you're not even taking that car for a 200-mile ride. Kobe had passed 50,000. blows out his Achilles, it seemed like his body was telling him, it's over, I'm done. So you go back and you look at the last 3 years that he played. He played 6 games the next season, 35 games last year, 14 games this year. He's shooting 36%.
Horrible.
He takes 5.6 threes a game. He makes 25.8% of them. Only goes to the foul line 6 times. He's making 3.5 turnovers a game. Like, this is now a 3-season stretch of some of the worst basketball ever played by a superstar player. And you watch him last night, he took 26 shots. He took 17 threes. He's airballing. He's dribbling off his foot. Like, and I'm watching going, this is why I stopped playing pickup basketball, because I was becoming,
right.
You never want to become that guy. And my question is, how is he enjoying this? That's a part I don't understand. This is one of the great competitors of all time. And he's like dribbling the ball off his foot with TJ McConnell guarding him. What is in it for him? I don't get it.
That's what I'm saying, and like I would expect him to, like there's got to be a limit. Like we can't watch this for 60 games. Like it can't be every city, it can't be every layup that he does in the warm-ups, and it's going to be like like a freak out. This is too much, and for him to sort of come to terms with the fact that I'm going to play crappy the rest of the season, and he's smiling more in these 14 games than he did his entire career. You know, like he didn't play games with these dudes. He wasn't out there shaking his shake. He was like the thing that I love about Kobe is that he's one of these the last of a dying breed with Garnett and Pierce and a few others that are still in the league. That he's not friends with these dudes.
Right
now he's out there shaking hands, and I feel like he's almost like like softening them up so they won't go in for the kill. Like I remember one time watching Jordan. It was the same type of thing with young Paul Pierce and Antoine Walker. They were trying to, go at him, and I don't like it. He deserves better, and I think he needs to rethink how this is going to play out the rest of the season. Obviously, the magic is gone. I'm sure there'll be like 1 or 2 games where something spectacular happens. I don't know how this helps Julius Randle, D'Angelo Russell, and even that prankster Swaggy P with his haircuts and his funny outfits. I don't know how this helps any of them. And at what point is Byron Scott, held accountable? Like, I'm a fan of Byron Scott too, but at what point is he held accountable for this?
You're not a fan of him as a coach, I hope. I mean, he's one of the worst coaches of this decade.
Again, I'm calling him from a payphone, and you're Bill Simmons. Break it down, Bill.
So, first of all, Byron Scott this is just an out-and-out atrocity, and the only explanation could be that they basically asked him to do everything possible to make sure the Lakers were one of the 2 worst teams in the league, because that's the only explanation for every coaching decision he's made. What I don't, like yesterday on Twitter, I compared what Kobe's doing. I know you've seen this movie. You've seen every sports movie. The end of Tin Cup, when Costner is trying to get over the water in 2, and he throws away the U.S. Open, and yet he's like, now it's like it's gonna happen. I got to make this shot, and he keeps trying. He can't do it. Then he finally makes it with his last ball in his bag, and Rene Russo says to him, "Who cares if you didn't win the U.S. Open? They're always gonna remember you're 12." And it's like, is this the outcome for Kobe Bryant, where it's like, ooh, who cares if you just put together the worst statistical season of all time? They're always going to remember you're 7 for 36 in Boston.
No. I don't. He deserves better, and I think that, I don't know if it's over Christmas break or Hanukkah. I don't know what he's into these days, but he needs to slow it down. Take another meditation now that he made the announcement, because I know he's into his meditation. He's talking about that. He's all zenned out, and I love him. I love Kobe Bryant, but we need to rethink this. It's too early in the season, and it's too ugly. And you know what I want to ask you about again, because I'm collect calling from a payphone in a subway, is this whole thing about tanking, and then they draft these kids that aren't ready to play in the NBA. Yeah. They're not impact players. The Lakers have done it 2 years in a row. Or 3 years with Julius Randle, who will become a good player. I don't know what Russell will become. The Sixers have been doing it for the last 5 years. They're pathetic.
Yeah.
I mean, at what point to say like the system isn't working, like it's broken, and this whole tanking and we're going to draft these other the next 19-year-old kid who doesn't shave, and he's going to come in and he's a 4-year project. It's bad for the league.
Well,
somebody needs to step in.
You look at Philly, and they draft.
Not everybody is the Lativian gangbanger.
I know. Well, that's it. They should have drafted the Lativian gangbanger. They draft Okafor, who's a terrible defensive player, but a really promising low post player. Like he's good down there, and they give him the worst.
But promising. So he's a 3-year project.
I know, but
he's a child.
So it's year 1 for him to kind of learn his craft on the low post, and
kick some ass kick some Boston fans' asses.
Well, that too, and to drive 108 miles an hour in the Brooklyn and the Ben Franklin Bridge. I'm not one to judge since I made plenty of mistakes in that 18 to 22 range, but. He's supposed to be practicing his low post craft. They give him the worst guards in the league, none of whom can throw him an entry pass. And then there's Nerlens, who's a very good defensive player, has a chance to be, a top 3, top 4 defensive shot blocker / big guy, and is a horrendous offensive player, and is only going to be more horrendous when you're putting him around with all these terrible perimeter people. So if you're building something long term, I don't understand how it helps you not just to put your low post guys and your big guys with just terrible perimeter players, but also you look at the Lakers and it's like, hey, D'Angelo Russell, here's year 1. You're going to play with Kobe Bryant. He's going to go 7 for 26. Here's Roy Hibbert, who's a disaster. And here's Meta World Peace. Those are going to be 3-year teammates that you're going to play with. How does that help D'Angelo Russell? This is so short-sighted. That's the part I don't understand.
That's what I'm saying. And is it to sell tickets? I don't understand. It's just not good. Like, how is this developing D'Angelo Russell and Julius Randle? I don't get it. And at a certain point, the Lakers need to evaluate, and Kobe needs to think like, what is going to be beneficial to this franchise that he's been so loyal to, that he's stayed with, and that he's 1, 2, or 3 is the greatest Laker of all time. Like, they're going to be next year's going to be worse. It's going to be worse because these guys aren't going to have time to develop because there's jersey exchanging ceremonies every 5 minutes.
You hate
before
the
the game, after the game.
You hate that.
I hate it. It's not soccer. They're doing it in the NFL too. These guys are out there signing. They're getting naked. Here, take this wristband. I mean, it's out of control. Like everything is for the Instagram, and Kobe is now being pushed to participate in these 15-second clips, and he's better than that. And he deserves better than that, and the whole thing needs to be rethunk because it's 60 games of this we have to watch.
So, I hate being the guy, especially the sport. I'm technically a sports media. I don't even know what I am, but. I hate just
You're
from
the media.
I hate from my couch and from your payphone in the subway for us to just decide what Kobe Bryant should do as an athlete. The guy had a great career. He's one of the 10 and 12 best players ever by any calculation. I think he's the 3rd best guard of all time behind Michael and Magic. I don't think we should be the ones telling him when he should hang it up. So with that said, watching this is surreal. I can't remember another great player looking this bad at the end of their career. Like Kareem in 89, like he's bald. He was a fossil, but they could still run plays. He could get his sky hook. Hakeem was in Toronto. He was a shell of himself, but he could at least like grab a rebound. Kobe's literally a 25% shooter. And it doesn't seem like there's any way it's going to get better from what we're watching. And he seems like he's delusional about it. Like he made those first 3 yesterday, and watching it, like I think he felt like I'm going off. I might score 70 tonight. I think he genuinely felt that way. That's what's weird about this.
He's expected the switch might it might happen. I'm not going to be surprised if he has a 60-point game, like if he gets hot. But when you realize that I just think he knows the game better than what he's doing. Be a distributor. There's sucky Kobe Bryant has more attention on him than good Kobe Bryant, because now every time he gets the ball, you could feel the rumblings in the crowd. Distribute the ball, pass the ball. He could average 10. That should be his goal. I'm going to average 9 to 11 assists a game that I play in. That would be a dignified way to go out instead of trying to get the old magic back.
Right.
I don't know. I got to call him up or something. I see if he'll take a collect call for me and take him out for French toast or something. Something's got to give. I can't watch 60 games of this nonsense.
Don't you think he probably, if it doesn't get better in the next 2 to 3 weeks, he probably retires? I think he's too competitive and he's too proud to just be bad at basketball night after night. I don't see him doing it.
Well, I would hope that, or maybe after All-Star or at All-Star. I don't know. I would hope that, but I feel like now it's just a shit show. Then he's going to feel like he didn't finish out and he's quitting. I don't know. I don't know. No. I don't know. I feel like that's what I'm saying. It wasn't thought out. That's what I'm saying. Like I feel like this wasn't planned out correctly. Like I don't know what's going to happen, but I don't like it.
Well, it's hard to believe that
for him. He deserves better.
It's hard to believe that Jimmy Buss and Byron Scott couldn't have helped him. Oh, wait. It's totally easy to believe that this is in the wrong hands. All right. Will you come back?